Hello all, we're looking at key topic 2, Hitler's rise to power 1919 to 1933. Okay, let's begin. Let's jump right in. So Hitler's early years, born in Austria, not Germany. Mother died of cancer when he was 18, hated his father, no success at school, failed to be placed at art academy. He blamed the Jews for that, of course. Moved to Munich in Germany in 1913, joined the German army, fought in World War I, was a brave soldier, received the Iron Cross twice for bravery. 1918, the loss of the war and the terms of the Treaty of Versailles hit him hard. He knew then he wanted to make a change and go into politics. 1933, he becomes the Chancellor of Germany. So let's see how Hitler gained power in the 20s. You already know what happened in Weimar, Germany, so let's look at how Hitler used events to get more support. In 1918, he joined a small political party with only 23 members. By 1923, he gained over 50,000 supporters. So, after World War I, the army used him to spy on political parties to discover threats. He regularly attended meetings of the German Workers' Party, the DAP. He joined in 1919 as he liked their ideas. They had very little money and very few members. Their leader was Anton Drexler. 1920, Hitler became the head of propaganda for the DAP. Hitler and Drexler wrote the 25-point program. Hitler changes the name to get wider support, the NSDAP, or Nazi Party for short. The Nazis start to use the logo, the swastika, and a straight arm salute to make the party stand out. They even bought their own newspaper to tell people what they believed in, the People's Observer. 1921, Hitler contested with Drexler for the leadership, and he won. Hitler created the SA stormtroopers, otherwise known as the brown shirts, or SR as you pronounce it in German. 1922, Hitler stopped the election of leaders to the NSDAP, which left him as leader without challenge. So he stopped any elections to the leadership of the party, meaning he was going to be in charge for life. How did Adolf Hitler take over the German Workers' Party in 3 years? Well, firstly, his appeal. He was a great public speaker. He practiced his speeches to make them powerful and exciting and win people over. His hand movements and eye contact made people pay attention, like I'm doing now and you can't see. He also used propaganda like photos, posters, banners, and the swastika to spread his message. The brown shirts, the SR. Hitler kept control of his party using the stormtroopers. Yes, that is where Star Wars got the name from, led by Ernst Röhm. They were called brown shirts because of their brown uniforms. The SR were ex-soldiers paid by the Nazis. They controlled crowds at meetings and got rid of opponents. Hitler chose his most loyal men as his personal bodyguards. By 1922, there were over 800 of them. The SR made the Nazi party look strong and powerful, so they won support for that reason. Leadership. Hitler was popular. He became the leader. He made the party stronger, brought in his own supporters. Rudolf Hess, his deputy, second in command. Hermann Goering, a rich and famous World War I pilot. Ernst Röhm, a tough army officer liked by ex-soldiers. And Julius Streicher, a newspaper publisher who spread Nazi ideas. His paper sold 14,000 copies by 1927. The 25-point program. Hitler took control of the Nazi Party's goals. He and Drexler wrote a list of 25 ideas called the 25-point program. The main aims: get rid of the Weimar government, take back land lost after World War I, end democracy, make the army bigger, ignore the Treaty of Versailles, remove Jews, and unite all Germans. So by putting out there the policies of what they were going to do, people could see what they were voting for and be attracted by it. Strong ideas. He set up a permanent party office so they were better organized. He became better at getting money for the party. He changed the party's name to make it more popular, the National Socialist German Workers' Party. He's trying to include as many parts of society as he can in the name to get them all to vote for him. He chose a swastika as the party's logo to make him stand out, and the Nazis bought their own newspaper to spread ideas. Hitler got full control of the Nazi Party. He had more supporters and members and appealed to many people. He believed he could take power. He planned to overthrow the Weimar government in an event called the Munich Putsch. A putsch is a violent attempt to take over the government. Now, firstly, he wants to take over the Bavarian government. This is a part of Germany, like a quarter of Germany, and then from there to go on and get the rest. Causes of the Munich Putsch. Long-term causes. This has never come up, and everyone says it's gonna all the time, so I'd really get this one known. Long term causes. Many Germans hated the Weimar government, so Hitler thought they would support him. They were angry about the Kaiser abdicating. They were angry about the Treaty of Versailles and the stab in the back, the Dolchstoß myth. They were angry at the weakness of the Weimar government. Local leaders let the Nazis and the SR be violent because they supported Hitler's ideas. Medium term causes. Hitler was inspired by Mussolini in Italy. He marched on Rome and took power. Short term causes. 1923 was a crisis year with hyperinflation and the French occupation of the Ruhr. Hitler saw this as a chance to take power. By 1923, the Nazi Party had 50,000 members, making it look strong. The events of the Munich Putsch. The beer hall takeover. The Bavarian government was meeting in a beer hall. The key leaders present were von Kahr, the leader of the Bavarian government, von Seisser, the head of the Bavarian police, and von Lossow, the head of the German army in Bavaria. Hitler, Ludendorff, General Ludendorff, and 600 SR stormed in. Hitler fired his gun into the air and declared he was taking over. He forced the three leaders to agree to his plan of marching to Berlin to overthrow the Weimar government. Meanwhile, Röhm and the SR took over police stations and army headquarters. Now, noticed, they forced those three powerful men to join them. They didn't want to join them. That's going to cause a problem, especially when you look at some of the key mistakes. Ludendorff released the Bavarian leaders. The three men said they were worried about their wives. Could they go home to them and they'd see them in the morning and help them with the revolt? Ludendorff, being a gentleman, said, of course. They didn't turn up to help. In fact, they decided to turn against the Nazis. They also failed to take the Munich army barracks so soldiers could stop the Nazis. The place is full of soldiers. They didn't take control of it. Hitler, Ludendorff, Goering, Röhm, and Streicher led a march into Munich's town centre with 1,000 SR members and 2,000 local supporters, some of whom were bribed with money from a Jewish bank that they'd just robbed. Oh my God. The army and police outnumbered Hitler's group and were better armed. The public did not care about Hitler's takeover, so he got little support. Fighting broke out, Hitler was knocked over, broke his left arm, and his supporters ran away. Hitler hid in a wardrobe at a friend's house, but was caught on the 11th of November and arrested for treason. Treason's bad. You can often be put to death for treason. Negative consequences of the putsch. The Munich putsch failed. Hitler was defeated and humiliated. Hitler and other Nazi leaders were put on trial for treason. Hitler and three others were found guilty and sentenced. He was only given 5 years in Landsberg prison. This was a short sentence because the judges sympathized with him. The Nazi Party was banned. There were, however, positive consequences as well. Hitler's release in 1924 marked a turning point. He realized that force alone wouldn't get him to power and that he needed to gain support through peaceful legal means, especially by winning votes. During his time after prison, he focused on organizing the Nazi Party and building his influence and power. However, the support for the Nazi Party declined during this period for several reasons. Before I talk about that, let's just talk about positive effects of the Munich Putsch. Number one, he got to talk in public. Everybody, the eyes of the world were on his trial, and he talked about how he wanted to get rid of the Treaty of Versailles, how he supported the army, how he wanted to make Germany great again. People listened to this and supported him. So even though he failed and went to jail, while he was in jail, he wrote his book, Mein Kampf, My Struggle, wrote down all the details of what he was going to do. And after he published it, when he got out, people read it and were attracted by it and were willing to support him. He also realizes, because of the Munich Putsch, he cannot take power by force at this place, at this stage. So what he needs to do is to win the support of the people, get voted into power and change it that way. So in those ways, the Munich Putsch was a success. Okay, after hyperinflation of 1923, the German economy started to stabilize because of the Dawes Plan, the Young Plan. So there's no sense of crisis anymore. So no one's going to support people like the Nazis because times are good. Political stability, the Weimar government was stable, Stresemann was around, people liked him, so they didn't need to turn to the Nazis. Lack of immediate results. The Nazis weren't able to offer anything as a solution immediately to the country's problem. So some people sort of lost faith in them. All of these factors contributed to the decline in Nazi support in the mid-20s. But Hitler and the party continued to reorganize and wait for a better moment. Hitler's main aims in Mein Kampf. Excuse me. So while he was in prison, like I said, one of the positives of the failure of the Munich Putsch was this. He wrote down his main aims: overturn the Treaty of Versailles, rebuild Germany's strength, expand in the east, Lebensraum, conquer land for the Germans. That kind of means conquering Russia. Unite all Germans, so get Germany and Austria back together. Racial purity, remove Jews and undesirables. Destroy communism, he saw it as a Jewish threat. And total dictatorship, replace democracy with his rule. Remember, Germans were used to this because of the Kaiser, and many liked it. How did Hitler reorganize the party then? This is what he did. Finance, he persuaded rich businessmen and industry owners to give him money. He replaced the SR with the SS. He believed the SR were too disloyal and too violent. He created a new group called the SS as his protection squad. He replaced Röhm with Heinrich Himmler as leader of the SS. They had a menacing, fearful, smart black uniform, Hugo Boss and all that. New aim: Hitler learned he needed to be voted into power rather than use force. Structure: the Nazi party was run like a small country, with Hitler as leader in full control. The official HQ was based in Munich. Nazi leaders called Gauleiters were in every region. Hitler made sure the Nazi party had a strong leader in all 35 regions of Germany to carry out his wishes and do exactly what he said. Youth and women: the Nazi party created a section for children called the Hitler Youth and a female section called the German Women's Order. So why didn't they get much support? After these changes, Hitler united his leaders, ensuring they understood his aims, beliefs, and expectations. So at the Bamberg Conference, for example, he launches his new aims, neutralizes anyone that's against him, and wins the support of others. For example, in 1934, Gregor Strasser, a former regional leader, was murdered because he thought, or Hitler thought, he was plotting against him. It shows Hitler's absolute control and ruthless control over the Nazis. The Wall Street crash. Let's have a look at reasons why Hitler and the Nazi Party grew in popularity. Collapse of US economy based in New York, Wall Street, the center of America's financial hub, triggers a global depression, hits Germany very hard, of course, because they had to repay the loans. After the Wall Street crash, America demanded repayment of loans from the Dawes Plan and Young plans. Germans panicked, withdrawing their savings, causing banks to collapse. How did it lead to unemployment? They had to repay the loan. Businesses had to repay bank loans, left them unable to pay their workers, job losses, decline in trade. Other countries in crisis bought fewer German goods, leading to factory closures. Unemployment cycle. Job losses meant people spent less, further harming businesses and causing even more layoffs. So this is why more people support the Nazi Party, because the Wall Street crash. They lose their money again, lose their jobs, lose their houses. They're desperate. And in desperate times, they will look to desperate solutions like Hitler. Why did the Weimar government not help? Well, taxes went up. Brüning raised taxes, making life harder for people. That didn't help. Emergency laws. He used special laws 44 times to get things done, made them look weak, made democracy look rubbish. Too much arguing, the government couldn't agree on what to do, and it looked weak. People lost trust in the government because they couldn't solve anything. How were groups affected by the crash, and how did they then come to support the Nazis? The unemployed, 1.3 million Germans unemployed. The government couldn't afford to give them any unemployment benefit, desperate. Hitler promised them bread and work. He also promised law and order in the streets to tackle crime. He promised to help Germany. The working classes: 40% of factory workers lost their jobs. Those that remained had their wages cut by 70%. The socialist bit in the NSDAP title helped gain some support. Hitler promised them work and bread. Middle classes: they lost their savings, their jobs, their businesses. They felt that they'd lost their status. They hated living like the working class. They saw Hitler as strong. He could get their money back. They hated communism. They were frightened of it. They wanted to be richer than the poor, not equal to them. They liked traditional values that Hitler was promising, not the drinking and the openness and all the rest of it. Business owners and the rich: they lost sales. They had to pay high taxes. They lost their profit. They had to repay loans. They were also scared of communism because communist talks about taking over people's business and giving it to the people. Hitler promises the bosses, the Nazis, would protect them from communism. protect their riches, protect their factories. The young were hit hardest with unemployment. Half of Germans between 60 and 30 lost their jobs. 60% of university graduates lost jobs. They saw no hope or future. Nazis were exciting. They were new, colourful. They used modern technology. Hitler was exciting with his speeches, which inspired passion and hope for the future. Women found it hard to look after a family with less money and unemployed husbands, difficult to feed a family. They were the first to lose their jobs if they had one. Hitler promised women that a vote for the Nazi party was a vote for their family. The Nazis made traditional family life look attractive and beneficial to Germany. Farmers lost sales, lost savings, couldn't pay their rent. They were afraid of a communist takeover that would take their land away and share it amongst the people. The Nazi gained 60% of farmer votes in rural areas because they promised to look after the farmers and their land and their profits. How did Hitler become Chancellor? Hitler gained power in just 4 years by capitalizing on the weaknesses of the Weimar government and the effects of depression. He exploited weakness. The Weimar government was divided and ineffective, with Brüning relying on emergency decrees to manage the crisis. Growing Nazi support as unemployment soared, many Germans turned to Hitler, who promised jobs and a strong government. Nazi propaganda. Hitler used modern methods like radio and posters to reach more people, especially the young. SR intimidation. The stormtroopers intimidated opponents and disrupted elections, gaining further support. Backroom deals. By 1933, political elites believed they could control Hitler, so they appointed him to restore order. Through a mix of skill, propaganda, and the failure of other leaders, Hitler rose to power quickly. This is how he does it. In the 1932 presidential election, Hindenburg, aged and frail, needed over 50% to win. He faced Hitler, who got 30%, and Thälmann, the communist, who got 14%. There's the result, which isn't enough to give Hindenburg an overall victory, not 50%. So they did it again. Hitler used aircraft to visit towns and gain support, while the SR disrupted communist meetings. This time, Hindenburg got 53%, but Hitler got 36%. Brüning made two mistakes. He banned the Nazi Party and the SR, which angered Hitler. He tried to take land from wealthy landowners to give to the poor, which angered Hindenburg, who was rich, and everyone else who was rich. It led to his resignation. Von Schleicher thought von Papen should be the new chancellor. Von Papen was friends with Hindenburg, but needed Hitler and the Nazi Party's support to become chancellor. Hitler agreed to support Papen if the ban on the SR was removed, and it worked. In return, the Nazi Party became part of the German government, gaining more power and influence. Von Papen becomes chancellor. Von Schleicher thinks he has manipulated the Nazis, who are merely children to be led by the hand. Reckon? Germany holds another election. Violence between Nazis and communists kills 100 and injures 7,000. The Nazis win 230 seats, 38%, making them the largest party. Hitler asks Hindenburg to replace von Papen with him as chancellor. Von Papen's not doing well as chancellor and is sacked, but Hindenburg hates Hitler, so doesn't give him the job. Hindenburg makes von Schleicher chancellor instead. Schleicher claims Hitler is no longer a problem, but he struggles with little support and economic failures. To get revenge for his sacking, von Papen suggests making Hitler chancellor. He thinks Hitler will be strong but controllable, claiming he has Hitler in his pocket. Hindenburg agrees, and Hitler becomes chancellor on the 30th of January 1933. Well, Hitler is not in his pocket, as he will soon prove when we look at chapter 3. Okay, that's a look at the rise of the Nazis. Revision resources and materials you can find underneath this on YouTube.